Picture this. You are lining up the perfect shot on a survivor, only for them to wiggle left, swerve right, and suddenly they're dodging your weapon like the bullets in the Matrix. And suddenly, you're stuck reloading slower than a senior citizen assembling some IKEA furniture. Yeah, that is the Deathslinger. He's loud, he's lethal, he's got a gun that should make survivors panic. But these days, they're more likely to laugh at him, spin around, and just leave him reloading in the dust. Welcome back to Forgotten Foes of the Fog, the series where we dig up the most underused killers in Dead by Daylight and we ask the most important questions. What happened to them, and why did they fall from the meta? Today, we are wrapping our fingers around a rusted trigger with the sharpshooting outlaw himself from Chapter 15, The Chains of Hate, Caleb Quinn, also known as the Deathslinger. The Deathslinger came into Dead by Daylight in a blaze of heat, a gritty outlaw armed with a bolt-firing monstrosity that could rip survivors to shreds. His ability could rip survivors straight off windows, pallets, or even from the other side of the map. On release, he was more than just a killer. He was a statement, a ranged threat that would pinpoint precision and fast, snappy aim that rewarded quick wit and sharp reactions. He was meant to be this aggressive sharpshooter with fantastic mobility and fantastic map pressure, but when we look at the stats today, it paints a completely different picture. Let's take a look. His space speed is 4.4 meters per second, which is your standard speed for killers and is 110% the speed of survivors. When we break it down, aiming down his sights reduces that to a maximum 3.74 meters per second. And when he's reloading, it's even slower again at a maximum 2.06 meters per second, which can feel like a snail's pace. So what happened to him? First and foremost, let's talk about the elephant in the saloon. At least one of you laughed there. I'm sorry, but at least one of you did. Not long after its release in September 2021, during the patch 5.3.0, Deathslinger received a huge nerf. And this wasn't just any nerf. He was fundamentally changed as a character, as a power, and as a playstyle. The crux of the nerf was the removal of the ability to quickscope, which forced players to commit to full aiming animations, and that animation can be sluggish and painfully slow. Before this nerf, you could snap your gun up, quick aim, and catch survivors during vaults, during loops, during basically anything. Now, survivors get multiple full seconds to react as they see the Deathslinger bring up his gun and set his sights down his aim. And as if that wasn't enough, they increased his terror radius. Previously, he had great man game potential. He could creep up just close enough to get that distance and snap a quick shot. Now, you can't creep up, you can't bluff, you cannot create that tense Western-style standoff that he was introduced for. And to make matters worse, they reworked his add-ons. The ones that helped his mobility during aiming, they were basically gone or completely gutted. Now, when you aim, you're slow to a crawl. You can't track survivors who dodge left, you can't correct your shot if they juke the loop wide, you cannot adjust angles at your windows, you aim, they leave, it's as simple as that. And the result? A killer once defined by precision and snappy control now feels clunky and outdated. Which is unfortunate. He is a fantastic 1v1 killer, but terrible in a 1v4 situation. Unless you're the sort of player that's very much 1v1 me bro, you're gonna struggle when playing the Deathslinger. His dueling power is real. In a straight 1v1 with clean angles and tight loops, he can absolutely dismantle survivors. But the problem is, Dead by Daylight is not a 1v1 game. It's an asymmetrical 1v4 game, and that is where he collapses. He has almost zero map pressure, he cannot teleport, he cannot traverse across a map quickly, and he cannot pressure multiple gens unless the survivors gift him a beautifully tight 3-gen in the endgame. And when he's reeling in survivors after he's hooked them on his reeler, well, that just takes a chunk of time. Time that the other 3 survivors use to slam gens, get objectives done, and escape. And it just sets him back, even though he's spent so long trying to shut down that last chase. His snowball potential is poor, because every part of his power is built around a single isolated target. Meanwhile, you've got many killers on the roster who can bounce across the map, injure multiple survivors, or apply pressure everywhere and anywhere. This just makes the Deathslinger very stagnant. He is powerful only when focused on one person at a time, but when 4 survivors are playing efficiently, he just struggles to keep up. Thirdly, survivor counterplay is extremely effective against the Deathslinger. Yes, it's true, every killer has their own counterplay, but the Deathslinger's is unusually simple. Survivors don't need perks, they don't need coordination, they don't even need to be that skilled as a player. All they need to do is bait out the shot and dodge it. If you bait a successful shot, suddenly the Deathslinger is stuck in a massive recovery animation. Survivors get huge distance immediately, and the Deathslinger is set on the back foot. And if he does land the shot, you can hug walls or stick tight to corners, and you can break that chain. Sure, it'll apply the deep wound effect, but you also still have that distance if you are savvy enough. But to dodge that shot, you can wiggle left to right, duck, run round in a circle, basically do anything to bait that shot and throw off his aim. You can fake your vaults, fake your loops, fake your movements entirely, which forces him to aim and shoot prematurely, wasting precious seconds. And if you're against experienced survivors, they can run Slinger for absolutely ages. They know every corner, every angle that can break the chain perfectly, every tile that denies his gun entirely, and the match becomes a slow chase simulator, while 3 other survivors push gens, slam objectives, and just progress the game as quick as they possibly can. And lastly, the fun factor is very complicated. There's no denying it, Deathslinger can be fun. If you land a long shot harpoon, it feels incredible. If you drag a survivor off a vault or from a high ledge, it's pure dopamine. But everything around those moments, that's just where it dies. His add-ons, they're very weak. They barely change how he plays, they don't boost his mobility, and his pressure is not really affected in any meaningful way. His power feels clunky and slow, his recovery animations interrupt the flow of your chases, and his perk synergy, well, that's a completely different ballgame. That is very limited, and you need strong perks to compensate for his weakness. But they rarely enhance what his gun, or his main power, actually does in trials. The result is a killer who feels outdated in a game that's filled with fast-paced, modern gameplay. Why would you play the Deathslinger when you can play killers who have range, pressure, and mobility baked into their base kits? Why would a single-shot harpoon be the choice over those range killers who give you a sustained threat? As like I say, Deathslinger can be fun, but he's also incredibly frustrating, punishing, and slow, especially when survivors know how to handle him. And if you get a good team with a few hours behind them, you will likely struggle. But here's a twist. In competitive DBD, Deathslinger still has a lot of respect. His precise shots, his ability to deny safe pallets and windows, and his control of tight loops make him a specialist's dream. With perfect positioning and instant decision making, he can dominate controlled environments. But casual play is messy, chaotic, unpredictable, and his kit simply isn't built for the demand of fast, efficient 1v4 gameplay. He shines under pressure, but he collapses under unpredictability. So, what do you think? Is Deathslinger a forgotten gunslinger whose time has simply passed? Or is he a precision weapon dulled by years of nerfs and modern power creep? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And next time, we'll be taking a look at one of the most controversial killers to ever be introduced into the fog. Not just one killer, but a group of 4, known as the Legion. Thank you for sticking around to the end of this bite-sized deep dive, and if you've enjoyed today's video, make sure you give it a thumbs up because it helps me out more than you know, and if you've enjoyed it, make sure you drop a cheeky subscription so that you can catch future episodes of Forgotten Foes of the Fog. Until next time, I will see you then.